Thank you, Trooper Johnson, for taking the time for an interview.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, you coach the U.S. youth national teams and women's team, and now you're the coach from South Africa under 23. So, what kind of differences do you see between these countries?
I think there's some incredible differences. Like right now, we're in a true development program. We're coming from the ground up on both the men's side and the women's side for the U23s and U25s, and really trying to develop a culture of what kind of work needs to be put into being successful, and then how can we go ahead and start building little pieces at a time and creating a successful team and a successful program down the road. But obviously, you're looking at a long-term goal here. It's not like it's going to turn around in 1 year or so. We're looking, 5 years down the road where we can really have an impact on what we're doing, or we can see the impact that we're having.
So, what would you say were the first important steps you changed for these guys, for these young talents?
I think a lot of it is just the discipline side of stuff. And when I mean discipline, it's not, being in on time and like the discipline as you think it. I'm just talking about during drills, making sure that you're hitting the lines, making sure that you're understanding why we do a drill, the way we do it, the importance of the drill, and then being very specific to doing those drills correctly. Even if we need to slow down and do them right, because the skills that we're trying to build are going to be the skills that carry over into games. I think what I noticed, especially with this team, is most of the troubles we have are very basic technical skills. The dribbling, the ball handling, the passing, even just squaring up for a shot. It's I think we tended to take it for granted in the United States, especially on the national team level there, because a lot of the athletes that were there had been playing for so long and had the resources to be able to practice so much that they did that. That was just something that came natural to them. And even though I'm not saying that we didn't have a lot of work to do, there was still a lot of work on the U.S. side. But here it is very, very fundamental, from the ground up building blocks. I think the fundamentals, like, when we would break a lot of film down, we'd see the reason and the cause for some of the mistakes. And it really came down to the fundamentals that we had, And I think when you look at, in wheelchair basketball, it's still a very young sport, right? It's still driven very differently than able-bodied sports. Where able-bodied sports, there's so many opportunities to play and compete, and so many venues that are available, and gyms, and in the United States there's church leagues, there's YMCA, there's school gyms, there's everything that's available. And for athletes with disabilities, those opportunities don't exist the same way. And so I think that when you start seeing fundamental skills being brought up, you're looking at able-bodied athletes that have that development program that's a long-term development from when they're 5 or 6, and with athletes with disabilities, it's a lot different.
So, what do you love most of being a coach?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I love watching somebody like grasp a concept that you've been trying to teach. I think it's kind of funny. You look back at the U.S. women's side, and you're watching like a player like Lindsay Zerbrugg, or you're watching some of the players that were there that were very young, and you're trying to teach them just the skills that you are wanting them to do, that you see in them, right? That you see where they'll be successful, and trying to get them to understand. I think that you'll be more successful trying to do this, and then having them latch onto that and own that responsibility, and then having them see success in that, and having the trust in you to be able to do that. And also, just I love that. I love seeing an athlete just see a little bit of success and finding that, that little spark where all of a sudden it just clicks.
That's cool, yes. When you see players being successful that you have coached in their early days, like Amit Vigoda or Hollermann, are you feeling more proud of them, or would you like to give them more advice?
Oh no, I'm so proud of all these athletes. And it's just like Amit is just like he's family. I coached Amit when he was really young, and I adore that kid. Like him and his family are family. So I wish nothing but success for him. I think it's going to be great, the fact that we're able to play against him over in Thailand, which is going to be awesome. But Amit, Rose, a lot of the younger athletes that I had, we had what we called the Brat Pack on the U.S. national team over in Tokyo. We had 5 young ladies that were very, very young, and just kind of almost in a point overwhelmed with the situation of Tokyo and the Paralympics, and it was so fun watching them grow and develop, and all you can do is wish for their successes down the road and know that you know, you had a small hand in that development, which is great.
Nice. As a former U.S. national player, with who would you love to play in an all-star game? Former teammates or former players you coached?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's a really good question. I think, you know, you go back to the glory days and you kind of go, it'd be really good to get on the court with Dave Kiley again and Chuck Gill and, you know, and Mel Jewett and some of these guys that you played against, and you, like, I think you have the games that happened during the Paralympics and during the World Championships and stuff, but you have the journey, right? And being around those guys for so long and being part of this long-term process, being on the bus rides, being in the hotel, being just stupid with each other and just, you know, growing up with each other in some ways, I think that makes it a little bit more fun, and being connected like that to where you'd want to go back and have a moment like that to spend time with them again.
Okay. So with this team, you play against Amit and Rose.
Yeah. Well, would I play against them?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think it would be kind of. I'd love to play with Amit too, but Amit's like, I think both of them have. I have to be realistic with my level of play now. It is definitely not what it used to be, and so when you watch Amit and you watch Rose now, like they are way beyond where I am now, right? So. But it would still be fun to be on a court with them. I mean, that would be a great 3-on-3 thing. Yeah. I'd take Amit and Rose in a 3-on-3 game. It'd be like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I would love to watch it, yes.
That would be great. We'll take on the world.
Yeah. What is your vision right now with South Africa and in general?
With South Africa, like, it's a long-term goal, right? And I think right now, coming to this tournament in Turkey, it was really good for us to have the team here and be exposed to the higher level of competitions, right? I think teams get familiar with the teams that they played against, and if they played against competition that is, you know, in similar level of competition, they get comfortable with where they're at. They get familiar with the teams that they're playing against, and you know, you have Algeria, you have Morocco, you have Egypt that are challenging teams that are above them right now, but they're not significantly far above them, right? And then when you look at the rest of the African nations that are still developing, those are the teams that are really in the development mode. And so I think what has happened is South Africa has been in a mode of having this kind of a false confidence being brought up, right? And now they're getting over here and seeing some of the best athletes, some of the best teams in the world, you know, possible, you know, the favorites for, you know, between these three teams and the United States, the favorites for the World Championship. You kind of go, this is what you need to see. This is where you need to go. If you want to be an elite level athlete, you need to look at how these athletes play, how they shoot, how they train, and really, you know, put yourself in a position of, if that's where you want to go, you need to do the work to get there.
So I think they are in a really nice way to grow. Like, they have good vibes.
It's a great team to be around. I mean, it's kind of an interesting team because there's language differences, there's cultural differences, there's so many differences that you're trying to manage at the same time, right? In the United States, it was very, very interesting because you had gender, you know, I was a male coach on a women's team. You had age difference or generational differences that you had to manage because, like, athletes of different generations view the sport differently and have a different work ethic based on, kind of related to their generation that they're in. And so you're kind of managing these different things. And now when you get over here, because I'm coaching both the men's and women's side, you still have the gender issues that, you know, that you have to be conscious of. You still have the generational issue because the athletes are, you know, different ages than you. And then you have the cultural issues and the language barriers, and you have all the other issues that you're trying to manage. And so it has been an incredible learning experience for me. And then, you know, you were on our bus today. Yes. And I think I love the bus rides. Yes. You know, it has just been incredible. And I think the first, you know, one of the strongest impressions that I have of this team is we get on a bus and then all of a sudden the singing starts and they're so connected to each other and they're so connected to their ways. And that is just something that you just don't see in a lot of other teams, you know, in a lot of other programs. So it is something that I value very highly, and I love it.
Oh, nice. Do you still have something what you would like to drop on my video, maybe a message or?
Oh, you know, oh my gosh, that's a good one. To all the athletes, I would just say that there's nothing that beats sweat. You know, like I think a lot of athletes go into a game, and what we're trying to teach these athletes here in South Africa especially is that you can't put a shot up and just hope that it goes in. You can't hope that you get better. You can't, you know, and this was familiar or similar to the U.S. team too. You can't hope to get better and hope to win. Like everybody wants to be successful, but it's the people that are going to work to be successful that are actually going to be successful, right? And there's nothing that beats sweat. Like get on a court, sweat. Just go out there and shoot, and just never lose the love of the game.
Okay. So thank you for taking time, and yeah, I hope to see you more succeeding in Thailand then, and I believe in that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. It could have been. Wahnsinn.